Hi, welcome back to my garden. As so often is the case, this week's talk has been inspired a little bit by one of my weekly newsletters, this time from Gaping Void. And they told a very interesting story at the beginning of their piece about the etymology of the word sincere. Apparently, according to this newsletter, sincere is derived from a Latin phrase, two words, sine cera, without wax. What's that got to do with sincere? You might think maybe of that common phrase, waxing lyrical, which is so often very far from sincere. But it's got nothing to do with that, and it's actually got everything to do with sculpture. So perhaps that's what appealed to me when I was reading the newsletter. Apparently, back in the day, the Roman day, marble statues were very much the thing, all the rage, and phenomenal status symbols. But carving a marble statue is by no means a simple matter. Mistakes happen, little chips and dents. And on those occasions, a restoration was made using some sort of mix that was wax-based. So plugged the gaps. I don't think they had epoxy resin glues in those days, so wax it was. Now, of course, this really, in a sense, devalued the sculpture a little bit. And for the most demanding of clients, they might begin a commission by saying without wax. They wanted a perfect piece and were willing to pay the price. So there we are. Sincere is, in that sense, without blemish. And we use it a little differently today. And this piece took a sort of slightly angular approach to sincere. And it suggested that perhaps what we needed was more, in the modern age, more sincere leadership. Again, not about the waxing lyrical, but about without any sort of cosmetic adjustments, let's call it that. And I don't want to really dwell too long on what Gaping Void had to say, but I kind of could see their point. And we certainly do live in an age where people do things very much for appearance's sake. I mean, in our very physical appearance in a digital age is liable to all sorts of retouching. Think Photoshop, or think sort of more physical cosmetic adjustments that might be made. Botox, implants, cosmetic surgery in general. I can't say I'm a particular fan. Now, I don't want to say that all sorts of cosmetic retouching is a bad thing. You're going to appear on television, and the makeup specialists will apply some sort of powder so that you don't appear like a corpse under the bright lights of the studio. And fair enough. But we are living in an age where it's very hard to know what we can take at face value, because the possibilities of making something appear that which it isn't are so much greater. It's interesting, and this is what I started to think about when I read the piece, how this is very much culturally specific. Because when I've spoken about repairs, restoration before on this channel, it was a quite different philosophical sort of approach. Because I've discussed the Japanese technique, kintsugi, which is a very sophisticated means of repairing damaged crockery, damaged earthenware, teacups and whatnot. And it seems to go back certainly many hundreds of years, 500 years or more. And ceremonial teacups or plates, important items, when they broke, might be repaired, and then the crack is treated with a sort of a lacquer that has gold, silver, platinum powder infused in it. So when you look at the repaired teacup, the crack, rather than being disguised, is celebrated and highly valued by this gold lacquer. And this is all part of or linked in with another sort of powerful Japanese philosophy, wabi sabi. Oh dear, I can't remember. Should have researched that better. Never mind. Which is a philosophy of embracing imperfection. In the sense the teacup. What you're saying is that a used teacup will have a life of its own, and that life will eventually encompass cracks, breaks, and marks of its well-used, well-spent teacup life. And those marks should be celebrated because they imply that it has been well used, rather than stuck in a display cabinet to impress people, rather than to actually fulfill the important function that is the tea ceremony. And so quite a almost diametrically opposed contrast to the idea of the wax restoration and in its modern form, this idea of presenting ourselves in a way that is where all the blemishes are airbrushed out, quite literally sometimes. And I think this is interesting because it sort of cuts the heart of an important point that has everything to do with my ongoing theme of self-actualization, is that part of self-actualizing is knowing yourself. And part of knowing yourself, I think, or an extension of that, is accepting yourself. Is seeing strengths and weaknesses and not trying to cover them up, not trying to hide them. And I've also been thinking lately of this YouTube channel and this series of videos, in part because I'm coming up to an enormous landmark for me, my 200th episode. which is astonishing. That I'm in a couple of months' time. I'm not sure if it's at the end of October or if it'll be at the beginning of November. But I will be filming my 200th chat in the garden. And the truth of the matter is that these are anything but neatly polished. They are very much rough and ready. What you see is what you get. And a lot of people have said to me that that's actually something that they quite like. That in the sort of broad genre of philosophical video essays called, or my phrase, a garden chat, monologue, because it's not a chat. It's just me. But I've always liked a nice monologue. I guess in this sort of sea of similar content on YouTube, very often, never mind that the talk has been scripted, it's clearly been very carefully edited. So any stutter or pause, any moment of, like this, any moment where I sort of start looking around and thinking about what I'm going to say next, well, that disappears. And I'm not sure that's a good thing, because that's not really what conversations are all about. Yeah, I'm not saying one should never polish things up, nor am I saying that doing things well shouldn't be an aspiration. I'm driven the very core, inspired by this philosophy of mastery, that we pursue things, or we do things in the pursuit of mastery. They are disciplines that we practice, and by mastering, or at least improving in some area, we learn valuable lessons and perhaps improve in others, or become more refined. Sure. So, and I don't think that actually was what the Romans would have been driving at. They would just be saying that the perfectly executed, whilst rare, is to be highly valued. And today, in a consumer culture, well, we don't want rare and highly valued. We want easy to reproduce and seemingly rare or polished. And therein lies the problem. So, that's it. I think that we do need to, we do need to value and aspire towards these this high-end performance. Struggling for the right word, but you know what I mean. This is to be valued, and perhaps we'll never get there in our lifetime. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't polish things up, or if something falls too far short of the standard, reshoot the film, sure. But I don't think equally one should be afraid of leaving the signs, leaving clues about what actually happens. And when we are producing these highly polished, but ultimately fake, is that a bad word? But on some profound level, flawed images of ourselves or things that we are producing. I suppose a question I would like to end with that I was thinking about is, why are we doing that? Who are we trying to fool? I mean, partly we are perhaps trying to mislead the public, or grooming the public to think that we are of a particular level when perhaps we're not. Perhaps we're also trying to fool ourselves, convince ourselves that we are further down the road than we really are. And perhaps that's even more dangerous. So I drifted off in a long, non-gold lacquered meander at the end. But that's it. This is a warts and all video, so make of it what you will. As always, let me know what you think in the comments below. Trust your lives are filled with joy. And until next time, ciao for a sunny Brazil.